I'm super excited to show you this. We're gonna be going inside a drop shipping warehouse. What is that? If you're trying to run an e-commerce brand and you don't know what product is going to scale, you can list the products that these guys sell here in China, and we're talking thousands of different products. Market them via Facebook, see what sells first before you have to go and spend tens of thousands of dollars on stock and inventory. These guys will take the upfront risk, so they'll buy all the inventory first. So it's sitting in their warehouse, which we're gonna go have a look at. When you sell a product to your customer, they will pick it off the shelf, put it in a box for you, slap the customer's label on it on where it's going, and send it straight there. What's cool and how this is different from like AliExpress is they quality control everything. So you know that the product that you're actually sending to your customer is quality, there's no issues with it, and that you can go and use this as a base to build a real brand. So let's go check out the warehouse and I'll show you behind the scenes of how they do all of this.
It's mostly drop shipping, so it's all different parcels from different suppliers.
How do you guys make decisions on what products you think are going to sell better versus not? Like what's that system look like?
We don't do any of that. We don't do any product research. We're just ordering as our clients make the orders. Right. So they come to us with the product that they want to sell.
Yep.
And then we will source it. And then when they get the orders coming in, it comes through our warehouse.
So if someone finds a product they start selling, it sells well, so say they sell, maybe even though they sell like 20 of it. What's like the minimum order before they can come to you guys and say,
so our
source it and bring it in?
Our minimum is not per product, it's across SKUs, is 30 daily orders.
Okay.
So as long as you have a store that's doing 30 total daily orders, then we can own those. Yeah, they'll come in here, they'll get scanned into our system to make sure, we got the right package, we got the right amount of good.
So this right, she's seeing orders now.
She's more intake for like logging new products or products that just come in.
Yeah.
But in doing that, in unpacking, they're also just checking to make sure it's not broken upon receipt, right? You see, we do a lot of fashion gourmet niche.
Awesome.
So tons of QC, very detailed. They'll go through, you see they're spreading out like each product, looking for holes, looking for any type of defect.
What's like shipping in terms of like error rate, call it? What percentage of products do they find are defective?
Overall, I think around like 10%.
Okay.
Yeah, 10%. But we're processing 70,000 daily orders, so they do all right. 70,000. So these are returns that go straight back to the warehouse. So.
What are suppliers like when you? So it's like this had some sort of issue with it.
Yeah. So let's see here.
Oh yeah.
Here they'll point out. Looks like there's like a little.
As well.
Yeah, they get really granular with the.
See this one here.
Like
a little, just little bit of strings. How do you go about like for fashion? When you think about like sizing, how do you know you have a jacket? Obviously, you can do different sizes of a jacket. If a customer comes to you, do you source all sizes, or how do you make decisions around that?
Yeah, we'll go through a size run. It depends on, I guess, the volume of their sizes and however they run their store. But then we also will order samples to our warehouse or to our office rather, and they'll measure out each individual item to make sure like we have the accurate size charts. And then we'll send the size chart to you so that you can put it on your website so you have accurate size charts.
Yeah. And what do you do with the stuff that doesn't sell?
Stuff that doesn't sell, we don't get too much of that. I mean,
even on like specific sizes, like shouldn't have bought too many XLs, you did. It's like,
yeah, then I think that kind of goes to like a clearance house, We don't sell it on our own, but there are companies that'll buy up that kind of dead stock.
Right. And Western companies will buy it up?
I don't know about Western companies, but here in China, like all the time you'll see kind of advertisements for like factory sales where it's just
wow. So you can sell it internally.
I think actually this jacket that I'm wearing right now, I got this from a factory sale.
Of course you do.
It's just like we have like a competition, internal competition, like a leaderboard. So different departments have different metrics that they go off of, and they can compete for bonuses and stuff like that.
Nice. And do you give a preference on, like in terms of just margin for you guys? Is it kind of small, medium, or large brands that you tend to kind of gravitate towards?
For us, we don't do like a flat margin. We're always trying to like stay competitive
Yeah.
Where we get our margin is mostly off like shipping, because we do so much volume that we can get a lot lower rates than a lot of people.
Yeah.
So we can try to work a margin in there to keep it competitive.
Is there any sort of exclusivity that anyone has to? Is there any sort of exclusivity someone has to sign with you? When
No, they're free to move as they please. You know, we just try to provide good service and
That's what
hope they stick. Yeah, we will be getting a machine to auto sort these.
to them. And where would you automate? You could automate that. You could have it just auto sort. Where else could you automate?
We can also automate the stackers, so we can get the robot stackers to. So we'll have like basically, just like you see the pick and pack station.
Yeah.
Instead of people rolling carts to them,
Type of robot.
if we would be a robot bringing that. We're gonna go upstairs from here.
And how do you go about like staffing, increasing levels of staff here and then decreasing? Like, was it hard to find people? Easy to find people?
Oh, it's not too hard to find people. We bring in seasonal staff for Q4.
Yeah.
But without seasonal staff, we're sitting at around 600 employees. So here's a bunch of jewelry. And these next few rows are jewelry.
So for example, this would be on the DayOne portal. So anyone could technically, if they wanted to start a brand, come on, list his jewelry for sale.
Nope. We're a bit different. We don't provide any product catalogs or anything like that. Customers come to us with a product they want.
Right, so
they want
as
to
a
sell.
product first.
And so part of that is that we want to kind of preserve the competitive advantage of our clients, you know? Product research is quite difficult and involved, you know?
And figuring out what actually, and then probably the market and figuring out what sells and...
Exactly. Yeah. So it didn't really sit right with us to have someone come to us and just hand them over a bestsellers catalog and what we're selling, you know?
Which is hard because like, you'll find that when you partner with people in the industry and obviously everyone's looking to make margin wherever they can. And it's like, I've seen it before personally. Years ago, I had a brand that I partnered with in a company as well. And some of the products that I was selling literally ended up in, a competitor's website 3 days after we'd signed an agreement. And I was like, how did you even know that product was selling well? And we figured out that someone had literally, who we just signed the agreement with, had literally just shared it with them. And of course they knew inventory levels, how daily sales count, etc. And they just stocked it straight away. So the fact these guys like just have a completely different approach is like something I haven't personally seen before. So
been a lot of long-term clients and even long-term employees.
Yeah.
Like I said, I started 5 years ago and we were 40 total employees.
Now 600.
Now 600. Yeah. Just 5 years.
How do you find a competitive nature here in China, just in this industry?
It's tough, man. It's just like business anywhere. It can be very cutthroat.
Yeah.
But especially more so in China because of the manufacturing here. And like you mentioned, when you had that product and just in no time someone else was copying it.
Yeah.
It's the same for, what we do. We've had competitors just copy our whole website and just switch out the company name, like all the copy and everything.
Yeah.
Just word for word. And
they just don't care.
They just don't care. So yeah, this part here is the Amazon FBA prep mostly.
Right.
And bulk prep. So that's what they're doing this.
So how would that work differently from what happens downstairs?
So FBA and like fulfillment by Walmart, those kind of things are all bulk prep. Yep. So we do a minimum of 200 kgs over 1 cubic meter.
Okay.
And those shipments need to be prepared specially according to the guidelines for FBA or whatever the inbound warehouse is.
Sure.
And so what they'll do here is they'll consolidate the shipments. They'll have different products. They'll add any thank you cards, those kind of things into the parcels to basically make it pick and pack ready for FBA and those kind of warehouses.
Yeah, fantastic. So we're gonna go check out the office now, meet some of the team. So did you help hire those guys and do you manage them or?
No, a lot of the hiring just goes directly through HR. Our HR takes care of it. The office. I think we just got done with lunch break. Lunch break's till 1:30.
So what are the working hours?
Yeah. Working hours are 9 to 6. Yep. So pretty standard hours. week. Yeah, that's standard for China, Monday to Saturday. Yeah.
See, we should maybe instill that work culture in the US and
No, bro,
Australia.
4 days.
China's doing 6, we're trying to do 4. So the process here, so say a brand or an individual would send you a product, it's going straight here to one of the girls who is looking through what, 1688, Alibaba, and they're literally just trying to find best and cheapest supplier.
Yeah, so first they'll look initially in our internal system. So we have our own internal custom system that we made.
Right.
That's kind of like our network of suppliers that we have. So they can do, just like on 1688, they can do an image search to see like a similar product. If we have that on file, then we'll go that route because that supplier's already vetted and we kind of trust their products and their quality. If not, then they'll go to 1688 or Alibaba, but usually 1688. 1688 and Alibaba are the same thing.
Yeah.
Except for 1688, you have more low MOQ items, and then also 1688 is domestic China purchasing. Like we can't purchase from Alibaba as a domestic China.
Really?
Yeah. You can't purchase like directly through the platform. No.
Did not know that.
It's international only.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But Alibaba, the reason we have 1688 in Chinese, one is Yao. So 1688, Yao Liu Baba, Yali Baba.
Oh,
Chinese. This is the Chinese name. Yeah, same thing.
And so as a Westerner, if you wanted to go and kind of find better supplies than what you'd find on Alibaba, and your idea was to get it domestically sent out of China, would you recommend that same person could use 1688?
Yeah, you can navigate it. Navigate it as a foreigner. You can just use the native translation on your browser,
And it was.
that'll get you through it. I think also Canton Fair is a good place to kind of meet suppliers. You won't necessarily find a cutting edge product at Canton Fair, but you can open those relationships, meet suppliers, network.
Meet
go that
6
route.
people selling the same thing.
Yeah.
So sorry, and for context, sourcing here, more sourcing.
Yep. This is all sourcing. This whole office.
Great.
Sourcing only. Yep. Yes, for you guys.
Oh,
You
Thanks.
came short notice, but we do have gifts on hand, so
that's big. That's
very much welcome.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Here's all the operations teams. We have around 11 or 12 teams, around 8 to 10 people per team.
Yep.
And these are the ones that are in direct contact with the client side.
Right.
So these are the people who are receiving the product links or the product photos, and then they liaise with the sourcing office upstairs.
Someone watching this who wants to kind of, again, find better suppliers in China, really ramp up their own brand, they'd reach out to you guys. One of these girls will get straight back to them, and then it goes straight upstairs to the sourcing team. They'll then source the best supplier, and then obviously place the orders and straight to the factory.
Exactly. On Fridays, we have tea time. So we'll order like a bubble tea or whatever, and it's just like a massive order, as you can imagine. Everybody gets tea. So
Aussies and Americans, they love the beer and wine. Here it's bubble tea.
For sure.
It's more responsible, I guess.
Or samples. Like I said, a lot of people, instead of maybe the sample going directly to you and taking time, we can receive the sample directly to our office, and they'll take the QC photos, video, whatever you need.
Yeah.
If we don't get it directly from the supplier.
So what's if someone hasn't engaged you yet, do they have to sign a contract with you guys first to do that, or?
No, I mean, once you kind of contact us and kind of show proof of your orders and like that you're in business and doing your thing, then we can support kind of helping you out and get things started.
Yep. So that's DayOne down there.
Yep.
Won't put that in the video, but like it's all like that.
Yeah, gotta have that. That's like required. It has somebody come in and ship. This is our timeline. So 2013 is when Alex and Henry kind of started working together.
Yeah.
They started on AliExpress, just kind of suppliers, and then they kind of transitioned into fulfillment. Here we have logistics department. So they're always looking for the latest lines. This used to be sourcing office, moves them all up to 15.
Yeah.
This is all training over there for new hires. More teams. This is the Amazon department. So they have their own kind of office. They have their own ViewNet as well, because they had to be very careful with the IP.
So sorry, Amazon, why they want to come they're coming from the US?
Yeah, so we have to log in from a particular location of wherever the owner is,
And why would you guys need to log in on behalf of the owner?
Because some stores we manage for our clients. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And so that was an inside look at DayOne sourcing. These guys are like a Chinese hidden gem. What I mean by that is it's run by 2 Chinese co-founders. No one in the West really understands a company like this exists. The idea that you can find a product you want to sell, give it to these guys, they will source the product from the best supplier for you, and then they will order samples, QC, so quality control those samples, and sell it and stock it on your behalf, and you just literally focus on selling. I haven't seen anyone do it to the size and scale that these guys have done it. So if you are interested in using them, like you've seen how they work, link down below. You can go in, just tell them what sort of product you're selling, and they can help you source it and do everything behind the scenes. And look, you know I'm just not going to show you the like AliExpress supplier that like, it's not where the real money is made. This is where the real brands are built. This is the competitive advantage that only few people actually know about and are able to use. And this is the difference between a guy who starts a small brand that doesn't really get anywhere, or that they kind of scale but then has all these back-end issues, to the person who's able to build something from zero to hundreds of millions of dollars a year. And the best part is that these guys can scale through every single step of the journey with you. So again, if you're interested in using them, the link is down below. But like this is a dream come true that we're actually able to see this sort of stuff and find it in China, because it's what gives me a competitive advantage. And I'm sharing it here with you guys first.